This is a meeting of the Town of Norton Zoning Board of Appeals. We have two hearing items on the agenda tonight. The first is a continued hearing concerning 34 Elm Street, the applicant Mohammed Fareed, and that was continued at the last meeting, tabled. Is there a motion to take that matter from the table for further consideration tonight?
I'll make a motion to put the item on the table.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Mr. Fareed is here with his representative, and I understand that we have a new map, plan set, or plan, I should say. At the last meeting, as I recall, we suggested, after discussion with at least one abutter, we suggested showing us what screening was proposed, and also asked for some clarification, I think, on some of the lines and distances. Another plan was submitted, this one, am I right? Dated through 9/12/19,
Yes.
showing some, showing what we had suggested, including the plantings.
Here's
That
the
is,
larger.
that's new, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
What you have in
Yep.
red.
The red here is the same as
new.
this, yeah, thank you. Mr. Fareed, do you want to just explain what you've submitted that's new?
Yes, I moved the barn back 20 feet, and there's a wet stamped plot plan showing that. Also, I was asked to send pictures over for what type of trees we're going to be for screening. I submitted those as well. And also, I was asked to give a 3D rendering of the view from the abutters, and we submitted a few pictures of that.
Right.
Yes.
That's a computer-assisted view of what it would look like with those types of
Yeah.
plantings. Is that that's what you're saying?
Yes, and then the pictures of the trees would be the actual trees that are going there.
Okay, okay.
Right, and those were in your files, and I'm going to pull it up here so everyone can
Great.
see it.
I was gonna say,
I didn't see
I
that.
didn't see those either.
Ah,
In the folder,
No, I didn't see it.
yeah.
I didn't print out the color photos. I printed out the other,
So this is the aerial that they provided. I have another one in there as well. So,
the folder should be, it's on the Dropbox,
yeah.
Yeah, we will.
and Paul puts new stuff in the same folder.
I'm not sure how to close this, and my
I
apologies.
think you have to
but
go backward on the arrow, the upper left part of the screen.
Here?
Up. See the arrow? Yep, try that.
Well, I'm just trying to,
That brings you back to the last image. Brings you back to the main Dropbox, I think.
yeah. All right, well, you see that, and then
Right,
he
so there's
has,
the rendering.
then the rendering, one of the renderings.
That's what I was referring to. You didn't see these? This?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so there's that rendering showing the landscaping, and then
Then another
there's
one, I think.
another rendering right here. Oops. Different view.
Different angle, is that?
Yes.
Yep. And we had suggested last time that Mr. Fareed show us what he was willing to do to alleviate concerns. Are there other questions from the applicant or his representatives?
Can I ask just a quick question? Are those trees or are they bushes?
There are actual trees, there are pictures of the actual trees, which would be a more realistic of what it would look like. Those are the ones that are going to be transplanted. I believe he has the photos.
Yeah, we don't have those. We have the two renderings we
No,
just
There
saw.
are additional photos, I believe.
Okay, well, I don't have them. I don't know if
You
they're
had a
in the file.
I did send them.
You did?
Yep.
Okay.
You mean
For thi-
just in the
just
last
last
few
week?
weeks?
Yes, before the 3D pics, you got them. You got them on Friday.
Yeah.
They weren't there, but they did go through.
Okay,
Let me see if I can,
yeah, let me, if you could send those, I can
Or I can
Apologies.
run out to the truck and get the physical pictures.
Oh,
Why
well,
don't I do that?
Chair, that's,
Did you email them?
I did email them.
To Paul or?
Yes, to Paul. It's the same, the way he got everything else. And I can pull that up.
okay, well, let me see if I can pull that up.
Okay, so, yeah.
I think if you open
That
it.
was on September 16th, 10:50, 3:39 a.m.
I think he has that. Thanks for
Well, here's
pointing that out.
the 3D pics
And before that,
before it. There's the aerial. You had the aerial, then the land surveying services.
I can send them to you again right now.
Okay,
Sure.
Okay.
So far, the members haven't seen the photos of the trees that the applicant's talking about. But the renderings show what they show. Are there questions of Mr. Fareed or his representative concerning these? We can wait a second to try to pull these up.
It is sending, but I'm going to grab those photos anyway from the.
Okay?
okay.
Yeah, I was just a little confused, 'cause when I looked at the renderings, they look like bushes, tall, versus a tree. That's why I was a little confused.
They look like arborvitaes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I don't know the difference between the two, definitionally, so.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are they?
They're used, and when he was doing the rendering, I'd asked him that if he had utes on the thing, there's only certain type of, they have just a tree, like when you take it and you drag it and put it there, it wouldn't look exactly like it, but it's a 3D, it's
Yep.
animated, but the tree, that's how we actually sent the pictures of the actual trees too, which, it didn't go through, but he'll go get the actual pictures
Okay.
of them, so.
Do they have the same coverage as like an arborvitae? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know how an arborvitae will kind of, it's all green, kind of.
Yes, it's like a darker green. It looks like a big vase. They start out, they probably have about 15, 16 branches in the bottom.
Yeah.
And they literally go like a vase. Matter of fact, the three I have, they're actually not like this, which that shows they're actually intertwined, so you don't actually see through them at all.
Yeah, so it's like a screen.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, you wouldn't see, even that, it shows a little bit of the garage at the bottom, you wouldn't actually see anything.
You can let those, correct me if I'm wrong, you can let them get as high as you want, correct?
It can go as tall as you want to go, absolutely.
Yeah, it's all how you keep them trimmed.
Yeah, which our landscaper does that. You can cut the, kind of like the saplings, I guess,
Yep.
the sides, and as you cut them to the side, they just grow.
Yeah, it still hasn't come through.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably about 12, 13 feet tall
Wait,
when
wait.
I first moved.
One at a time, though.
Okay, so here are the 3 yew trees. They're approximately 30 feet wide and 22 to 24 feet tall. And the rest of the photos are...
We can have those then?
Sure.
Okay. I'll mark them and keep them, but I'll pass them around.
These are actually good.
So these are the trees that are going to be moved, and then does the new plan show 3 additional proposed evergreen?
There's evergreens.
Okay, so are you moving all the trees?
6,
Oh, okay. I
just like
thought,
the plot plan.
okay. So these are the trees that are proposed. I thought I thought just 3 were being moved, but I guess all the,
If you go to the aerial view again, I can show you which trees are actually,
okay.
if you like.
We'll just let the board look through these.
I do.
You said how tall were they? 20 feet?
They're between 18 and 20 feet tall right now.
How tall they get? Maybe.
Tall as...
As long as they go and go.
If the trimmings are done properly, which they are, I believe, technically, they can get as tall as 24, 25, 30.
They were tall. Thank you.
Okay. If anybody else would like to take a look at these, they're here. Anybody in attendance? Otherwise, we'll put them in the file. Would you like to see these?
Okay, thanks.
So we've discussed this at a couple of meetings now. We've looked at photographs, we've looked at some revised plans. This new plan shows the distances, I guess, between the buildings.
Mr. Chairman, we didn't get any further guidance from,
Council? No, I didn't get a response. Never talked to her. I had emailed her after the last meeting and didn't follow up before today. This is here because it's a pre-existing non-conforming use. The applicant is trying to put a accessory structure that otherwise I don't think would be before us if it wasn't a non-conforming use, because of the distance from the distances involved. As I indicated before, I don't know what other information we can derive. I think it's time to discuss it and make a decision, unless the board members feel they want to hear from anybody else, including Mr. Carmichael's here, the building commissioner. If we make a decision allowing, we can impose conditions, as we've discussed before, and then it would be up to, us leaving it in the hands of Mr. Carmichael to police, for lack of a better word. It's actually probably not a good word to use in this case, just to make sure that the as-built is conformed with, as he does on a daily basis with projects
Right.
in town. We have an abutter who has objected pretty strongly to this, and we've asked a lot of questions of the abutter and of the applicant. We had a reduction in the number of cars that are going to be permitted there, to be stored there, from what number to what number?
The final is 13.
13, okay. Vehicles, those vehicles aren't to be registered. We had talked about some of these conditions, that we would put into the decision the last time. But if there's no further questions from any of the participants, a motion would be in order to close the hearing, then we can talk about the information we've gathered over the last couple of meetings. Paul, was there anything else from your end administratively that we were looking at? No.
No, I think you've covered everything.
We have the new plan and we have the photographs that were just.
Correct.
That are in the
Yes.
file now, and we've taken a look at those.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second that.
Okay, any discussion on closing? And Mr. Tenori is not going to be a voting member here because he had missed 2 meetings, he thinks. I thought it was only 1.
2
but-
meetings. I've watched both videos, but I didn't get through,
Yep.
I didn't get through the last video in
Okay.
its entirety, although I did get through this application. I didn't get through the entire video.
Did you see the clerk?
I did see the clerk.
Okay, good. You're sworn in.
I was
Oh,
sworn in
good.
as a full member.
As the regular.
I have not filled out the other paperwork she emailed me,
Okay,
because I don't have any black ink at the house. And I've been running crazy since I got back.
That's
But,
okay.
Yeah.
but yeah, no, so I mean, I don't think it would do any justice if I
understood.
was a,
A voting
Voting member.
Understood. For the record, Mr. Tenori is now a non-alternate because Mr. Wozniak has left, resigned over the summer to pursue other things. Mr. Tenori and myself and Mr. Wren are now the 3 non-alternate members. Mr. Booley is our 1 alternate at this point. So I would appoint Mr. Booley to vote on this at this point, since Mr. Tenori is stepping aside, as he hasn't attended all of the proceedings.
Right.
So it'll be the three of us deciding. All those in favor of closing the public hearing? Aye?
Aye.
Okay. And now we get to discuss what we've heard and go from there.
So I'm stuck on 2 points.
Okay.
Still slightly, that maybe we can talk about a little. 175, 1.5E,
Yep, that's,
alteration shall not be detrimental to existing non-conforming use, and subject to conditions, limitations as might impose. It is the intent of the subsection that such change of use be permitted whenever the proposed use is of the same general class of the existing use and will not significantly increase traffic noise, etc. So if I read it, we need to satisfy both those conditions. There's two statements in there you're looking to satisfy.
I think I would read it the same way. Whether it's it shouldn't be a restatement of the same point, so I don't disagree with you.
So I guess we're looking at is storage of automobiles the same general class of use as a residential structure.
That's up to you to decide.
That's the point, that's
Yep,
my first sticking point.
okay.
And the second, under the definition of accessory use of building,
What is that number?
175, 2.2, under definitions.
Yep,
Accessory use of building. Freestanding building customarily incidental and subordinate to the principal permitted use.
understood.
Is a garage customarily incidental? Absolutely. Is it subordinate? Yes. Is it customarily to have a 13-car garage as a accessory? Those are the 2 points I'm stuck on, and if anyone,
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hung up on the definition along from the get-go. That's been my primarily concern, is whether or not a 3,100 square foot pole barn is in fact, by definition, an accessory building, and I'm still struggling with that general concept. That's kind of where I am. That's kind of where I'm at. That's what I'm hung up on, is the
Okay.
definition.
and I think he's done a great job, the screening, I think, is fine. I don't think there's anything more he could possibly do to make it more presentable. I think there's no place he could really move it. It's just those two definitions and those two paragraphs is what I can't get past yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think the applicant has done a great job trying to make this work. But I'm still kind of getting stuck at the baseline of, is this even by definition, an accessory building?
And I think last meeting, we might have said it or discussed it. If this was, not that size is what we're considering, but is it customarily to have a 3-car garage as a use? Easily, yes, you would say yes. A 2-car garage, yes. When you go up to a 13-car garage, is that customarily incidental to a residence? And maybe it is in some areas, maybe I'm just stuck on, maybe it's just because the definition is not clear or not, have more information.
Yeah.
I believe a garage, if you're continuing, the other, is it considered a garage? Are we considering this a garage? Or are we considering this storage? I'm considering it kind of as storage, whether it be automobiles, whether it be whatever, it's kind of like it's the other avenue as I was.
Okay. Anything else that you want to add? I take it
No.
that you're not going to be able to get past those 2 points you're saying.
Unless there's
Okay.
some explanation, or it's not explanation, but some enlightenment in the other direction, or if I'm interpreting it wrong, I'd like to hear
I don't know that,
anybody others.
I don't know that
else's.
your interpretation is wrong. I think it's somewhat of a judgment call. I see it as an accessory building is customarily used as a garage, which this is. I agree that the size and the number of vehicles is not customary. It's not the usual. However, I don't see anything in the bylaws that restricts either size or number of vehicles. So I'm of the mind that if something is not spelled out that you can't do it, I think you're permitted to do it. I think I said that at the last meeting or the meeting before. This doesn't, that takes care of accessory building, I guess, in my mind. It is a garage. It's just the size and number of vehicles. I don't know that garage is actually, defined at all concerning storage of vehicles. I guess you could, as I said before,
No.
mine's full of junk. I don't have any vehicles in my garage. That's
So it's
because,
storage.
it's too bad, but that's what mine is, unfortunately, until actually, I'm getting a dumpster soon. But, that's my point, that I think this is a accessory building under the term. And from there, I go to 1.5E, where I think that the non-conforming use that we're talking about is the actual second dwelling unit on the residence. This, to me, doesn't impact that non-conforming use. It's not,
You're changing the non-conforming use.
this is a change on the lot, but it's not a change to the non-conforming aspect of the use, or the non-conforming aspect is the second dwelling unit.
Right.
So this is just, if something's done on a pre-existing non-conforming lot, an applicant has to come before us if it's an extension or expansion or alteration. And we've kind of complained and moaned about that before, because sometimes even small projects have to come here, and we say, oh, that's not really fair to the applicant or to us. And now there's another provision here that takes some of those off the table, so they don't have to come to see us if it's not increasing size of a certain nature. But to me, this does not extend the nonconformity of the lot, and also does not increase noise and lights
I
and
don't think so.
all the undesirable
Yeah.
nature of the use that's there, which is a residential use. It's just that there are two dwelling units there. The applicant's not, intending to change either of the the second dwelling use. I guess the applicant is changing his dwelling use by having, a car collection there. But again, it's judgment call. I don't know that anyone's right or wrong here. I'm just telling you how I feel.
And so how,
And my feeling is that if, as I said, if it's not prohibited in the bylaw, it's not like the applicant is putting up a circus tent, and is gonna have a rodeo of cars inside moving. In fact, they're not gonna be moving at all. They're not operable, without some, changes to them, some assistance. And that's another aspect that the conditions that council had talked to us about before, that was a condition we could put in. And also that they not be registered for street use, or be registered, I'm forgetting, actually,
Would they not be registered for street use?
for street use, right.
Street.
But I'm not, I'm expressing my feelings. I would suggest the motion would be under section 175, 1.5E, for a finding that this proposal, is permitted under 1.5E because it would not offend and it would not add to this and that. That's a motion that I would make, and then we'd take a vote, and, if you vote no on that, then it doesn't pass. Or one of you can make a motion that this does not conform with 1.5E or the other section as an accessory building, and, we vote on that and vote the opposite way. And that's what it is. It has to be a unanimous vote under these conditions for a three-member board to pass something.
So I think I'm still stuck on under 1.5E.
Yep.
Being same general class as the existing non-conforming use. So the existing non-conforming use being a residence, a second
A
residence.
dual, yep.
And so being the same general, is the storage of 13 cars in the same general class as a residence?
To that I say, I mean, you're asking to argue. I'll argue with you for the sake of, pushing back. To that I say, it's a garage, and a garage is of the same general, I'm sorry, I keep losing it, general class.
Yes.
The question is, does the fact that the applicant has, honestly come to us, we asked how many vehicles, and, told us that he's going to limit it to this number, but it's going to be more than 2 or 3. That's a difference that I don't see in the bylaw, and that's what I'm not comfortable with. The size of the building, we've dealt with on terms of zoning, and distances from
I'm comfortable.
front and from side and from back and from the other building, with the fire access we talked about. The neighbor's concern, understandable, that it's another structure and a larger structure than normal. The applicant has said he is going to, would try to mitigate that by what he's shown us in the last couple of weeks. But that's my feeling, and it's up to each of us to use his best judgment.
So I guess going with that argument, if he came before us saying he wants to build this structure, not say it was for anything else.
An accessory
Storage,
building.
This is not even saying what it's for. It's for an accessory building. You're gonna keep some furniture in there, you're gonna, whatever. And it wasn't, would you be looking at anything differently, interpreting differently if it was it wasn't a use of storage of automobiles?
I think any of us would ask,
What are we using?
what do you do in that? It's a pole bar, gee, what's that? I mean, that's part of our function. We ask questions and we get answers, hopefully, truthful and accurate answers, as we did in this case. I forgot if the application said if it was for the storage of, I think the application itself said it was for the storage of
Car collection.
of a car collection. But we asked and we got the answers. And that's exactly what I'm saying, that you could, I'm supposing, I don't want to use an example that's not going to be correct, but if you wanted to grow potted plants in there, I'm not sure we'd have anything to say about that, except for the size and positioning of the building as an accessory building. That's where I'm hung up, that we don't have something that says you can't have more than 3 cars or 2 cars. I have 3 cars. One of them hasn't been run in 3 years. Uh-oh. I hope nobody's listening. They're all in the driveway, unfortunately, as I've said. But I don't even know what the junk car ordinance is in Norton. I think we do have one. Maybe I'm in violation for keeping that 86 VW in my driveway, hoping that I'll fix it up someday, because I'm never going to do it. And if I face that, I'll get rid of it soon. You know what I'm saying? I'm not prohibited from having that sitting there. Neighbors haven't complained, so it's there. And here, I don't think that the applicant is prohibited from having this accessory building in this position under zoning on his lot. He's told us what he's going to do there, and I think that's what's making us collectively question whether we can stop it. And I'm not saying you're wrong in your observations. I'm just saying I'm looking at it from the other direction. Starting seedlings is probably something he'd be entitled to do, and if he had said he was going to do that, I'm not sure we would have had 3 meetings on it. I'm trying to think of something else as silly and mundane as that, but,
Yeah.
I mean, as a non-voting member, I think the size becomes an issue. I think the size is an issue, partly. I think if the applicant came to us and said, hey, I'm looking to just build a barn for extra storage of, furniture, I think, well, we would almost say, well, the size is an issue. You know what I mean? You want to build this, why? He's come to us and said he wants to do 13 cars. I know there's I've looked, I can't find anything in the bylaws that suggest how many cars you can and can't have on your property.
okay.
Um,
I guess I'm safe.
Yeah. I struggled with this going through, and again, I'm not a voting member on this, but I wouldn't want to set precedents as allowing someone to put any amount of cars, you know what I mean? I don't want to say, okay, I don't want this to come back to us in a year, and now we got, 10, 12 residents doing the same thing, because we came down the road and allowed this. You understand what I'm saying? What I'm trying to get at is, I don't want to set precedents by this, because there is no guidance in the bylaw. I
Okay,
don't know if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, well, I think it's.
I'm not trying to.
I think you, unfortunately, we're stuck in the middle. We don't, the bylaw's not giving us
Much.
detailed guidance to go on.
I mean, I think it is setting precedent. We're saying.
Yeah,
We have a problem with 13 cars stored on a residential lot under a building. That's precedent, but it's not a rule, it's not a.
Right.
It's not a bylaw.
Right.
And that's my whole problem with it.
It could be reversed on appeal versus, if
Yeah.
there's nothing in the bylaw that
Right.
specifically states it, we have to cite something in the bylaw why we're saying no. Size cannot be a
Right.
negative determination in this case, because there's nothing saying this size isn't,
Well, size can be, but I don't think it is in this case.
in this case, size could not be used as a negative determination.
Yeah, Chris, are we wrong in that?
No, I'll just go back over a couple points. So this
Thank you.
building would be defined as a private garage through 780 CMR, the building code. There would be restrictions on the floor, an oil water separator. It also would need to be divided into 1,000 square foot spaces because of what they're storing, gasoline and oil. This would be incidental and auxiliary to, or is it customary to the residential use? Private garages are, but the size and scope of it, 248 CMR, the plumbing code would require anything more than 6 cars being stored, defines it as more of a public garage. So it would say it would need that oil-water separator. So that's kind of dividing line. As to the point of unregistered cars, you're only allowed 1 on the lot per our zoning bylaw. So I think you're okay, just don't tell me your address. And then, there is Mass General Law that requires junk or second-hand or first-hand licensed car dealers, and that would make this a business if they had to have that many cars, and they would have to have that required license. That would be issued by the Board of Selectmen. So that's just some points of information that you were talking about.
Okay, thank you.
We've talked before, we mentioned before, do we consider building code, plumbing code? It's not really our purview.
No, yeah, as far as I understand, Mr. Carmichael does, because when we issue an okay to do something, the permit holder then, or variance holder, goes to Mr. Carmichael to say, give me a building permit. And Mr. Carmichael then says, well, I've got other books here to look at, and you got to do this, that, and the other thing, and the plugs have to be here and can't be there, and,
So if Mass General Law is saying it's a, how did you term it?
Private garage.
Private garage, but would need
for the
a,
building code purpose, I don't think it's,
that's not something.
for
we would
our
make a
purpose, but-
Negative determination on either.
that's an interesting legal question. I mean, what happens here is whatever decision we ever make, an applicant can, or an affected party, an aggrieved party, can appeal it. They can take it to the Superior Court, and in essence, it starts a case saying we were wrong. Either way, I mean, if we grant it, the neighbor, an abutter, an aggrieved person can do the same thing, appeal it to the Superior Court.
Just
So-
a general question, if we were to impose conditions Would we do that after a vote or before we vote?
No, it would be part of the process. I mean, if,
The discussion of what we would impose
that would be before.
before we
Before a
vote.
final vote, because the vote we'd take a vote, we'd discuss conditions, and then we'd say, we take a vote on everything with the following conditions that we've noted, orally or jotting them down or something, that way. I mean, you can vote on each condition too, if you wanted to, if it came that seriously. But, usually it would be, we agree on some conditions because we're sort of steering toward a yes or steering toward a consideration of granting it. But what you both seem to be saying is you're just not comfortable with it because of the things you cited. And I'm not yelling and screaming that you're wrong. I'm just telling you I disagree. And, maybe it will be up to the Superior Court to decide if we're right or wrong. That happens, it happens all the time. Or it happens once or twice a year, maybe, on decisions or on things, whether they're 40Bs or, less time-consuming things such as this. By that, I mean 40Bs take
Long time.
months or even a year or two to hammer out. But that's where we are. Some of the other rules, I know, I'm talking to you because I know you're both relatively new to the process, relatively, I mean, an applicant, if they're turned down, cannot come back for 2 years with the same plan. An applicant can come back with a different plan. I don't know if there is a different plan here to be had that would, satisfy your concerns. I'm just sort of outlining, sketching the, where we are in the world.
Can I
Yes.
sway in, and this, I hope this is helpful, because this may be more of a philosophical question, but getting to the size issue, and I believe what the applicant is going to do, he will commit to doing, but I was thinking about this, that what happens when, he's no longer there and the cars aren't there, and the new owner comes in down the road? I don't think there's a big issue if this were a garage, a typical 2 or 1, 3-car garage.
Right.
But what happens when the property is sold and you have a 3,100 square foot building that you may approve as a garage, but
We would be approving as an accessory building.
as an accessory building, okay,
With limitations that, no more than 13 vehicles can be stored
right,
within it. So it wouldn't be approved as a garage per se.
true,
It would be approved as an accessory building. The next owner would have to say, well, I want a building that size, and here's,
right,
and the
unless
activity is
they-
something that other bylaws govern. You can't have a kid, couldn't move a barber shop in there, or
right.
that,
My concern is, though, that it opens up, especially on the enforcement side, when you have we see these all the time now with larger buildings coming in, and it's just how do we address this down the road? And I know it's kicking, anyway, that's just my concern is, again, that's to me where one of the reasons size is something we really need to think about, because it's certainly possible a future owner is going to come in and, again, I'm speculating, I have no idea, I don't want to make worst-case scenario, but could it be residential? Could someone come back and say, I'm just saying,
We had these same questions with, wasn't it the applicant on Bay Road?
I don't remember
It was
exactly.
the doctor, remember?
yeah, 124.
We had this very exact same discussion when he built that garage, and,
What does the next owner do?
what's the next owner do? And we had that exact same discussion.
Yeah.
But really, it's,
But I would say, I don't think we
Right.
can be governed by
right.
a fear that somebody later would do something against the
Unintentional,
bylaws.
Yeah.
But we
I
would have
just
to
think
put,
that's I don't think that's a valid consideration.
we would have to put in our decision now that this was only used for storage of automobiles, because
No.
well, if we're continuing a non-conforming use, then someone could move in. You could make it a house.
No.
Because there's no.
Because we're continuing.
There's only
no
one
plumbing there.
dwelling, there are two dwellings on this property, so it's non-conforming.
But now we're continuing the non-conforming use.
Nope.
All we're doing is allowing a change or alteration to the lot, the non-conforming
So what's,
lot. We're not saying you can do anything in that building. You can't have a circus in there or a barber shop. We're just saying it's an accessory building that we're permitting, in which applicant, you can keep no more than 13 vehicles, registered, unregistered, non-drivable, whatever the conditions that we're talking about, and, shall do these plantings. It doesn't mean the next owner couldn't buy it and have it empty, or use it for seedlings, or use it for, yoga mat, as long as he's not doing it for business. I mean, it's the building, it's the structure, that's what the zoning board's purview is. Well, along with the activity in it, I suppose, because the bylaws govern the activity, but
the existing non-conforming use being a second residential structure, what if this same building was proposed as a third residential structure?
that
It's
wouldn't,
existing, it's still,
no, but he can't, he would have to, the bylaw says, you have to come to us
correct. I'm
for
saying if
anything.
if it was for the same thing, he's coming to us saying, I want a third.
Then we would say no. I mean, I would say no. We don't have
just
any
trying to
lots
look at it
with
from
3
every-
residences.
I'm just trying to get it from every angle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's the thing about 1.5E. If he wanted to put a 6x10 shed on the side of his house, I think if it's going to be permitted, he has to come to the zoning board, because it is a non-conforming lot, because of that
Doesn't matter
second
what.
residence, right. Even if it's a minor thing, we've had that many times over the last years. They have to file an application just for the finding that this extension of the non-conforming lot, this extension or alteration of the buildings there, is not going to make it substantially worse, non-conforming. And in that case, if it's a 6x10 shed, of course, we're not going to
Right.
say it. Size was an issue here, although it's not addressed in the bylaws, and then because we know what it's for. And that's my point, that I don't think, I think that's opening up an area that is not proper for us to
Yeah,
open
I mean,
up.
I think it's an important point that you made, is that if this was a conforming lot, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
I think that's the case, although, I think so.
Yeah, I don't think it would make
Unless
it.
there was some other size restriction, or, I mean, eventually, the applicant would go to the building inspector, and building inspector might say, oh, no, you have to go to the zoning board for variance or something else.
Right.
In this case, it happened because the plan was for a certain size facility for the storage of vehicles.
Yeah,
So the building inspector, under the bylaw, said, you got to go before the zoning board.
yeah, because I'm struggling a little bit, because I remember there was a matter before us a few months back, where the applicant put a garage behind the house. But he had plenty of setback.
Right.
But still had to come to us,
Yeah,
right,
it kinda-
right.
Yeah, I can't remember why, but,
I don't recall either.
yeah, but the size didn't really bother us at that point.
But he was here just because it was a non-conforming lot. I mean, a lot in this town, because you'll have in an R40 district, you'll have a lot with 30,000 square feet, not 40. Just one house, but that's a non-conforming use. It was built before zoning, the lot is undersized. That's what we most often see here. It's an undersized lot. Therefore, before you put that shed up or that normal-sized garage, you got to come before us, just so, because that's what the bylaw says. And then we say it passes muster under 1.5E. This got caught in that basket just because it's a non-conforming lot. Unless something else would have triggered Mr. Carmichael, maybe he would have found something else with what was proposed there, but that's theoretical.
Right.
I think his letter was because it was a non-conforming lot already, and that's why it had to come to us. His letters of record here. it's certainly, but it's certainly not customary to have 13 cars in a residential use. I'm not going to make the argument that it's common or, even exists in Norton. But if it's under roof and in a building that's permitted, that's my point, and not, something illegal. It's not a still or a distillery that's going in there, and it's not, a grow facility. Whether there are 2 cars or 13 cars or a bunch of junk that they have to someday go through and get a dumpster for, that's my point. What prevents somebody, to be prevented from doing something, I think it should be spelled out in the law, in the bylaw.
I definitely understand your point. Because I think I'm over the definition issue.
I'm sorry?
I think I moved past the accessory, whether that's an accessory building or not.
Oh.
I think I'm past that issue.
I mean, if,
At the end of the day, it's a large garage.
Yep, it is. I mean, if the board wants guidance from council, town council, I believe we can confer with council after we've closed the public hearing, I believe. We can request council come to us. We'd have to ask the applicant for an extension again, I think, because I think got an extension only through September to make a decision. We have to do decisions within 100 days, and we were beyond it, I think, or would be beyond it. And he gave us, I think this applicant gave us an extension last time, unless I'm thinking of another case.
I don't remember.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, actually,
think it's
maybe I'm thinking of the other case. The point is, we may have to ask the applicant for that extension in order to get counsel here.
September 30th.
Oh, September 30th is the day.
Yes.
Okay, so we would
To
have to
act.
ask for another.
It's a time to act, just September 30th.
Okay. I mean, but if you're,
If they don't grant us the extension, then, if they wouldn't grant the extension.
then we would take a vote. If we didn't act on it, then by right,
By right, he would be-
the applicant gets the relief sought, right? But, what we would do if we didn't get the extension from the applicant is we would probably
Well,
move. One of us, one side or the other would move, make a motion and vote on it. I'm just suggesting, if you want to consult counsel on these questions, I'll ask. And I will, entertain a motion to continue again, but then we'd have to get permission from the applicant, who may be under his own time constraints for doing this before, seasons or change or something. I don't know.
And we're allowed to do that even though the meeting's closed? Receive,
Hearing is closed.
hearing's closed, are we allowed to receive new information, which would be,
Now, I don't know if council information is considered new information. I don't know.
It would, right, I mean, you're
We're
asking for an
consulting with-
interpretation on.
interpretation of something?
It's
on
not like
something. It wouldn't be
factual information.
Like, right, here's a new plan. That's the information.
That's why I
Or new
say,
conditions came across.
that's why I say I think we can consult with council at any time.
Didn't she give you conditions during one of the hearings that you should consider?
Oh, yeah, we've discussed several, I'd say 4 or 5 or 6. I don't have the list right here, but, yeah. I think the members are saying
I can't
legally,
remember what I honestly can't remember what her,
We picked them up in.
number of
minutes.
vehicles,
Being registered.
non-operable, registered or not registered.
Well,
Was it registered?
for the, Not for driving, but for the,
Ownership.
I've got it. I'll look it up.
Yeah,
It's
for
in the
ownership.
minutes.
Like, you have to have title.
No, I'm sorry, we can't, actually, not supposed to be asking you questions now.
I think there was a list that was supposed to be submitted, how many vehicles and, yeah.
Oh, that's right, it was actually that list to identify the vehicles. Those are conditions that
List,
were
yeah,
discussed.
and titles, yeah, and titles.
And the number, no more than, and subject to building codes, which of course, the building inspector gets to do anyway, after the fact, after we do our thing.
Right.
But we have that in the record, I mean, we can look back at the
Yeah,
minutes.
not on the
and
August 28th, it was prior.
It was the first.
I could, look at the recording too. So again, if we're not sure about those conditions and we need that time, then I'd suggest, rather than going around and back and forth again, for another half hour or hour, we just say, we need to consult counsel, and before rendering a decision, do we have permission to do that?
I personally don't see us having 3 affirmative votes right now. I could be wrong.
I understand.
That's just my opinion.
No, that's the way I read it last time, too. And if you think you're going to feel that way, after consulting counsel, too, though, that's
I'm
fine.
thinking council's
I'm just
gonna get
giving the
involved
option.
Either way.
Sorry?
I think it's pretty good odds that council's going to get involved either way at some point. So.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Possibility of appeal, I'm saying, eventually.
Yeah, I don't know.
I keep reading section E over and over again, and I keep getting hung up on I'm okay with it until I get to the very, very last end, after the comma, and other undesirable impacts on the surrounding environment. And I'm inclined to interpret that as an undesirable impact is the presence of a very large structure close to the neighbor's property line. That to me is an undesirable impact. That's how I'm interpreting
Okay.
that section. So based on that, but I'm not necessarily saying that I'm interpreting it correctly. That's how I'm interpreting it.
Well, that's a judgment.
I don't think there's
Yeah.
any correct or incorrect, it's just an opinion.
Yeah.
On any,
Isn't it generally, if it's more detrimental, isn't that what your decision would be?
That's part of it's the intent of the subsection that such change of use be permitted by the board whenever the proposed use is of the same general class as the existing non-conforming use, that's what we went through, residential, and will not significantly increase traffic, noise, bright lights, and other undesirable impacts on the surrounding environment.
Right.
So that's
Yeah, because I don't feel it's going to impact traffic, nor any of us, I'm sure. Noise, light, bright lights. I don't think the neighborhood itself is going to be, the character's not going to change, other than the fact that but it is impacting that neighbor who has a large structure right next door.
And the first part of the section is a non-conforming use may be changed, extended, or altered only upon finding by permit granting authority, that's the board, that such change, extension, or alteration shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use and is subject to conditions and limitations as the board might impose. And then you get to, it is the intent.
Right.
So that's generally what you see ZBAs do, is make a determination if it's not more substantially detrimental. I think
Yep.
that's the underlying
Yeah, that is the
decision, what you have to make here tonight.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. The second sentence is guidance, for lack of a better term, as I see it. And I would say that, I don't think it's substantially
Yeah.
more detrimental.
Yeah, because I drove by the home, of the applicant's home and the neighborhood. I don't think this is going to have any detrimental impact on the neighborhood in the
Its
whole.
entirety.
In its entirely, not at all. I think it was a beautiful home. The home next door is a beautiful home. Big lots. So somebody driving by, I don't think would have any, would say, geez, I can't believe that building's there. I don't have any doubt about that. But
It's kind of out in the open. I mean, it's
kind of,
a large area.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
I see that in the aerial view. I did not take a drive-by.
yeah, when you drive by, I don't even know if you would actually even see it all that much from the road, quite honestly.
You wouldn't,
Because it's behind the home.
your eye get focused right on the actual main house.
Yeah, I really don't.
Usually,
you
unless,
wouldn't-
I mean,
You wouldn't see it,
that's
I,
because the building's not there yet, but.
Yeah.
I get
I
it.
mean, to be- I don't know, you know, to put it real simply, my only concern is for the neighbor. That is my one and only concern, and I guess, to me, that is detrimentally impacting that particular neighbor. And I think if I owned that lot, or I owned a lot, and someone's gonna build a structure that size, that close, I may not care. But if I do, then that to me is detrimentally impacting that neighbor. And it's, you know, if the applicant was applying for a small garage, a small shed, then I've said that I would argue that's not detrimental. But a structure that size, I think, is detrimental to that enjoyment of that lot next door.
Okay,
That's kind of where I am.
all right. Then I'm hearing that there's not a need to consult counsel on any of the legal aspects or legal questions.
Yeah, unless my concern for one particular neighbor is not valid.
Okay. Then I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that, do you want to make a negative motion? That this does not pass muster under 1.5E because of
If we-
reasons?
I've been debating that. If we make a negative motion and we don't get approval, then we're
Right.
right back to where we are.
I think typically you want to make a positive motion.
Well,
Yes.
okay.
We've done that on planning
A
board.
negative motion, okay, I see
Right,
what you're
because
saying.
Alan's saying if,
Okay, because would that have to be unanimous?
Correct.
I was interpreting, okay, I understand. I'll make a motion then that, for a finding under 175-1.5E, that the proposed structure with no more than, as an accessory building containing no more than 13 off-road collectors, automobiles, with the plantings shown on the latest plan submitted prior to this meeting, with the condition that the applicant supply a list of the vehicles to be held there. Chris, was there another condition that you can remember? Under 1.5E, that the addition of this accessory building under those conditions would not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use, and it would be subject to those conditions. That is my motion. Is there a second to that motion, just for purposes of getting it on the table?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? A yes vote grants the permission under 1.5E, a no vote denies it. No further discussion?
No.
All those in favor of that motion, aye. For the record, only me. All those not in favor of that motion,
Aye.
Aye.
so the motion fails. Okay. We will write up a decision on this within the time allotted, and it will be posted. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the application for 151 South Worcester Street. Joanne Luty?
Yes,
Are you Ms. Luty?
yes.
Okay, can you come forward? Yeah, can you sit at this table?
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
You can come over. Yeah.
I was confused by, well, one second.
Bright lights.
Oh, they're not so bright.
Not so bright.
We're not so bright either. The application doesn't say it, but I believe that this is here because this is a non-conforming lot as well. Is that correct?
Yes.
It's titled application for a variance. This is in an R40 zoning district. What is the size of your lot? That's not shown here on the application. It should be.
Oh, jeez,
Ah, the plan is there.
yeah.
Okay.
What is the size?
4 or 5 acres?
Yeah,
I can pull it up.
it's right there,
Okay.
It's right
Let me-
there.
150.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep,
I believe it's that, right there, no, the next set of papers.
The large
right there.
document next.
The large document right there.
yes, this, well, that's the same.
Yeah. But it says right in the middle.
.45 acres, 19,817 square feet.
Yes.
So that is an undersized lot. This is an undersized lot, and the applicant is here for exactly what we were just talking about, because it's a pre-existing non-conforming use, and they want to extend the building that's there. Can, Ms. Ludi, can you just tell us what it is you're trying to accomplish?
Yes, to add on another room on my little ranch, for like a living area, a playroom, for the three of us to live more comfortably,
Like a great room.
like a great room, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the plan of record shows the closest point to the side yard will be 11 feet. It doesn't show the existing distance.
On that side of the house, I believe it was
Right.
from our home to the neighbor, the
Yeah.
line is like 29 feet.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I think
I,
so.
I think, I don't have it in front of me.
it's not a right angle. This indicates it would be about 27
Okay,
27 feet because the 11 coupled with the 16 dimension of the room adds to 27. It's not a correct straight line, but we can infer it was about 27 feet, right? Correct? And actually, the deck looks like it's a little closer, so it was about 26 feet, I guess, to the corner of the deck. Questions from the board?
It's within all the setbacks.
No, there's a couple that she would need a variance for.
Is it it's the side, right?
It's a side yard and a
That's
front
all, it should be
yard.
15, right? Wait, what's the
That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so this is
principal
for,
building?
let me pull that up.
This is for relief for a front and side
side
yard
yard.
setbacks.
Front
This
side,
is
yeah.
not under
Yeah.
1.5. This
Yeah.
might pass under 1.6 because it's less than 25%.
That's what,
So this is for relief for a front and side yard setback.
that's what I was saying. It doesn't say on the application.
1.5.
Or at least I can't read my copy here.
Does say it on the agenda, though.
I added
Okay.
that. So for a principal building, for the side yard, it needs to be 25 feet.
In an R40.
Yes, in R40.
Yep.
And then the front yard,
It's 40.
it's 40, okay,
And this is 28.7.
right.
It looks like the house itself is encroaching on the 40,
Yeah,
as it
doesn't look
is.
like that's even-
The side yard is in compliance now, but, so basically, we'd be, I think there'd be two forms of relief necessary. One would be a 1.5E finding, which we've just discussed, and then a variance, if this is permitted. For the record, is there anybody else here to speak in favor or in opposition to the application? And for the record,
No.
there is none, nobody else.
But she also included two letters in the
Yeah.
application
Yeah.
from neighbors who support the application.
That are dated
Yeah.
and signed.
I gotcha, thank you.
Yep.
One is from a Lorna is that Crandall?
Crandall, yes.
Okay. And then a Jean Gonsalves?
Yep.
Okay. Saying that they had no problem with this.
Are they,
The Lorna is right beside us, where
Okay.
eventually, if we do the addition, that's where she is.
Yeah, she'd be on the addition side where we
Right.
abut her. Yeah.
Okay.
okay,
Which one is that?
That is Lorna.
Lorna,
Crandall?
yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
149 and
51.
151. Yep. 156, so down this-
Are there any other questions or issues? In this case, it's a non-conforming pre-existing. The applicant is going to make it more non-conforming. So the question is this a substantial increase in the detrimental nature?
It's under the 25%, you're right? Mr.
I
Conlon?
didn't do the math.
Oh, you didn't do the math?
Right, I didn't either.
Well, and
I think it's
percent
more
wouldn't
than the
qualify, the
25%.
25% wouldn't because of the setback issues, correct?
I'm not sure, I'd have to read the 1.6,
Yeah.
but
Well, let's get that.
they're just getting relief for this front and side yard setbacks.
And if I could just mention it, just like aesthetically, it's not deviating from like the style of the home really. You know, we're gonna keep it so it looks nice with the neighborhood. It's not gonna be anything that's outlandish or ridiculous.
Okay, 175, 1.6A says, "Non-conforming single and two-family residential structures may be reconstructed, extended, or altered as of right following determination by the building commissioner that such reconstruction does not increase the non-conforming nature and does not increase the habitable floor area of the structure by more than 25%. To me, I think this is more than 25%, but we can,
Right.
Sure looks like it.
well, we don't have the size of the house.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to see. if
It's on, it is
wait,
on
we
the
might-
plans.
It's not, it really should be on the plan sheet, but,
Trying to find it.
It's.
because that's what we go by, and that's what we have in our decisions.
But do you want the assessor's data?
22 by 49.
Do we have it here?
Have it right up there?
What's the size of the house?
22.
1,100 square feet.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, so this is more than 25%.
So they need that.
So it's not exempted, so we need a 1.5 finding as well,
They need a 1.5 and
and variance
And a variance.
relief. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
a second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And for this, Jim is sitting as a voting member. All right, then, a motion is in order for a finding under 1.5E that the proposed extension onto the existing dwelling, the size and nature shown on the plan, will not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conforming use.
I'll make said motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. And then it appears the applicant needs two variances, right?
Yep.
The first one, I'll
Sure, I think 3, frontage.
We got the front to side.
frontage, though, is already there. I mean,
It's 100 and,
105 feet.
Yeah, it's pre-existing non-conforming.
Pre-existing.
so
It's
not
not
an issue
changing the
with,
frontage, no.
okay.
She's
The
changing,
front setback.
she's changing setbacks that
Right.
further
The other
encroach.
two, okay.
Yeah. So one is a motion for a variance as to the side yard setback in an 40 district.
Yes, 40.
such that the proposed structure extension shall be no closer than 11 feet to the northwesterly side yard boundary, due to the conditions of the lot itself, the undersized nature, and it certainly doesn't look like there's anywhere else that the applicant could put this to conform.
Do you want to do both the variances at once, or just?
Sure. And the second part of the variance would be for an encroachment of the front yard setback requirement such that the proposed structure will not be any closer than 28.7 feet to the roadway.
I'll make that said motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. You should be in good shape.
Oh, fantastic.
We'll do a decision. We'll do a decision and post that, get that posted.
All right.
Yeah, I need to draft it, and then the chair will sign.
This will be,
Okay, great.
and the plan sheet will be appended to it.
We're all set.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Sorry to make you stay so late.
Nope, that's
It's all right.
Yeah.
I'll go right to bed.
So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I think they're in shock after.
Yeah, maybe I should have taken that first. I didn't know it was going to be so simple. but-
Yeah,
Again, though, just for comment purposes, seeing the dimensions of the structure, especially with 1.6 in play now, is important because,
I got a list, I was just gonna say the same thing.
okay,
Maybe,
when plan sets come in, you know,
Right.
I think we need something saying going forward that all
Yep.
plans need the existing setbacks, proposed setbacks, and the proposed be redlined, so we
to
can
all corners.
look right at
All
it.
corners of the existing structure and proposed structure, right.
And lot coverage. And a lot of them have it, but
Yeah, yeah,
proposed lot coverage and existing lot coverage.
because here we were able to pull up, this was part of the application or part of Paul's papers to us, which is good, but,
It's on their onus to provide us. with-
exactly.
Not us going to search for
Right.
everything. It should be easily,
because this isn't, that's not going to appear on this, this gets filed, you know, along with the decision. This is the page that gets filed, we'd like to see it right there. Something to keep in mind going forward. Okay, next on the agenda, Paul to present proposed warrant articles.
I'm just writing this down about building coverage,
Ah.
and can't wait to get Nicole back.
How's she doing?
She's well, she had the baby in a couple, last week, so,
Good.
Congratulations. It's good for her.
okay.
Chris, did you want to be part of this discussion?
I
Otherwise,
think Paul wanted me to stick
That's
around.
why
yeah,
he's here.
sure.
So,
I was just going to say, thank you for your assistance on the other application.
If you want me to leave, I'll leave, Tom.
Certainly don't.
no,
We could use all the help.
I'm not gonna fine you for your unregistered vehicle in your driveway, I promise.
Well, no, you get one, right?
You get one.
So he's got one.
He's legal.
he's good.
Well set.
Been there for about,
That's why he wanted to get rid of me.
been there for 5 years, maybe longer.
So, we wanted to bring this to you. These are some of the bylaw changes that, these are the ones we're submitting for town meeting. So these are articles that we've submitted that will be going to the planning board on October 1st. But a few of these affect what you all do, and we really wanted your feedback, particularly the definition, some of the definitions that we have in here, including, this discussion we just had on 34 Elm is a perfect example of where the definition for accessory use in building obviously is quite a challenge, and don't want to relive the conversation we just had, but we did some research. Chris found a few communities, and what we did was, we want to be able to provide a definition that gives you more certainty. And so what we did was we took language from, I can't remember the community. Halifax, and tweaked it for our purposes. But the definition of accessory use in building, you all were struggling because of the definition, It's so vague as to what it means to be accessory. We believe that this definition will help provide more clarity, and yes, it does have a size provision in it. It gives that an applicant an opportunity to come to you, but maybe if this had been in place with, for this project or some previous ones where we've had some very large structures, and the question of is this truly accessory or not, might make that a bit clearer. So, this definition, we've added some additional criteria that we think provide some standards, such as the size. The accessory structure shall be, that is, we can read through this, but essentially what we're trying to do is say that an accessory structure shouldn't be any more than 750 square feet or greater than 50% of the floor area of the livable ground floor area of the principal building. That way, when you get a project that's 5,000-6,000 square feet and they're claiming it's accessory, now you have something to go, maybe it's not. But again, we want to make sure that an applicant has the ability to come to you to make that change. There's also a provision that says no accessory building or structure shall be located within an area within the following sites. Essentially, what this is trying to do is prevent a large structure from going to the front of the lot. That's no accessory building, and clearly not within 50 feet of the front yard
So
line.
not within the pocket between the closest corners
Yeah,
and the street.
yes. And it shouldn't be any more than 50, any closer than 50 feet to the front.
But 50 feet for all zoning areas,
Well,
for all zones?
yes. But then they also have to meet accessory structure, well, we have to look at this.
Well, because that would have
Accessory
Right,
structures-
'cause
that would have nixed the last.
That would have nixed the last one.
Yeah. Well,
But they-
accessory structures must
that
meet the
meant a
dimensional
variance.
requirements.
Variance could be granted.
Right, we could overlook that. I
Yes.
mean, not overlook, we could grant.
Grant a
the-
variance.
You could grant a
overlook
variance
is
to
not
it.
the right terminology.
But now as I'm looking at this again, I'm wondering if, because Chris, D, it says no accessory building shall be located nearer than 50 feet to the front lot line. And then accessory structures must meet the dimensional requirements of 175-6.2, the table.
Which would include that 50 feet, so you might want to strike D.
Yeah, okay.
Because some of the lots are closer, 40, R40 and R60 are only 40 feet.
Right.
I think if we fall back to the dimensional table of 6.2,
Yeah.
that's probably adequate.
That just calls it back, and then it would be up to a variance, because I think
Right.
E actually conflicts with D then, because D would be a tighter restriction than
Yeah,
the
so
table.
we can,
So I would say yeah.
well, this has been posted, so we'll have to recommend to the planning board to take that out.
Yeah, I mean, they haven't acted yet, so.
No,
Right.
no, but I need to find out the correct procedure of bringing it forward, but we'll make sure that
Yeah.
we,
I assume it can be
Indicate-
modified, yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I assume they can
absolutely.
change it though, right?
They can, yes.
Yeah,
If it's
so-
coming from the town, it can be changed.
Yeah, this is from the planning, the planner, so.
Yeah, and this, I should point out, this was initiated, all of these changes were initiated largely because, with Chris and Christian from the Board of Health, partly to address gaps in gaps in definitions that they have in their different statutes, but we don't have.
Oh, yeah.
Right. But back to the accessory. Another big provision in here is an accessory structure shouldn't be used for living quarters. Again, we have accessory apartments, so that would pick that up, but an accessory building or structure shall remain freestanding in perpetuity. Said accessory building or structure shall not, by means of additional construction, be attached to another building or to an existing dwelling. So this is a separate structure.
Why do we not,
Not connected.
why do we never want to allow them to be connected?
if they connect it, then they can make it larger and bypass these. So if it's just connected by a little piece of board or a trellis,
That's the
then they
issue
can
we just-
bypass this.
But then it's not an accessory building.
Some,
No, it's
right,
attached.
some people bypass this in other towns just by putting, say, a little breezeway or a little roof line over it.
Right, oh, that's happened here. I mean, we
It's
have.
happened here a couple times.
But-
Yeah.
So if it's built as an accessory, it's freestanding in perpetuity and won't be connected thereafter.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Unless you all see an issue with that, but that, Chris explained our rationale for it.
No, just if it's an accessory building, it's not connected, so.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because if it's connected, it's part of the primary structure.
But what I think you're getting at is when they come here when they build an accessory building, and then they come here and they're like, oh, you can't have that, and then they're like, oh, well, we'll just attach it, and then now it becomes a,
Well, they want to add a room over the garage and have
Right.
their son move in, and then they got to add just a breezeway to connect it. So, yeah, they're
Yeah.
separate structures, separate foundations, but now they're going to just add a little roof line and connect it. So that's,
yeah, and I've seen
defines it a
that,
little clearer.
I've seen that coming up more and more in this, so I think that.
You're going to see it more and more as, property becomes more scarce. You're going to see a lot more attempts at this and, accessory apartments and duplexes and stuff. So, I mean.
And that's a positive thing, but this is.
Exactly, but we can zone for that, yeah.
Right,
exactly.
and it should be done correctly. I mean, if you're, again, this comes up with the issue this earlier today and then some of the previous ones, this would clearly delineate that, no, if you're claiming it's an accessory structure, it's not a habitable space, and even down the road, it's not a habitable space unless the bylaw changes. And we should point out, as you know, we don't grant variances on use, so you could certainly grant variance on the dimensional parts of this new definition if it gets passed, but I'm not, Amy would have to weigh in, but, we don't allow variances on use. And so if someone said, I'd like to take this structure and turn it into it's an accessory structure, but turn it into a detached,
Office
residential, you
or-
can't. No, well, possibly. Well, if it's an accessory structure, they'd have to be able to make the connection that office is somehow, again, connected back to the primary use, so it could happen, but it'd have to be, work at home or something like that.
Back to G. That seems to be saying that if you get an accessory building as an accessory building, why would the town be able to say you can never connect that to the existing dwelling? I don't understand what that's designed to accomplish, because then it's not an accessory building.
Then it would become part of the primary structure.
Yeah.
Well, one of the challenges here is we have different dimensional standards for accessory.
Yes.
Right? So you have more liberal, but if all of a sudden you start attaching it to the primary, the accessory becomes a primary, and now you're allowing the primary to encroach upon the, into the setbacks, for example.
Right, so if this was granted because it was only 10 feet from a lot line, it was an accessory, and then they came back and put a roof line on it, and then they put the garage, turned it into living quarters, that would be a change of use from accessory to
Okay,
dwelling unit.
But what if the garage was 20 feet? What's to say the setback was,
Yeah, if it meets the
Appropriate.
setbacks then, but yeah,
but,
that's just a
Like
loophole.
Most of the time,
but the way I read this.
It's
though,
not.
I think they're, yeah.
Right, think of the 70-foot trellis that you had, at Bay Road.
Yeah.
I think I think there's a better way to put that, but I may be too late in suggesting.
No,
You
no,
can make a
that's why we're
suggestion.
bringing it to you.
But said accessory building shall not by means of be attached to another building. Well, not all accessory, well, I think what you're saying is accessory buildings that are not within the standard, that are within the table 6.2 side yard,
Well, G
Standards.
leads into H, so if they wanted to do that, they could come back here and get a variance from you.
Or they could knock that down and do an addition.
Right.
They could.
So
Yep.
G leads into H, Tom, so that helps you.
okay. Okay,
Could you just make them one?
Could you make, I'm sorry, could
Yeah,
could you
G,
restate that?
G and
H,
H be one, G, like just be G?
well, H can stand alone, too.
H is a standalone because it's any variance that could come along. The
Yeah.
applicant would
Yeah.
have to go through the board.
Again, this has to go, through council and then the AG's office to make sure it's all legal, and then
Okay.
come back, so several other eyes, and we'll pick it up.
Right.
okay.
But if you all have this in Dropbox, if you have recommendations, get them to me, and I'll make sure that it gets to the planning board so they'll know what the issues are. I don't,
G just reads really funny to me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know what's bothering me about it, but I'll look at it when I'm
I
not
understand the
tired.
intent.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
get
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I get
intent.
10.
Yeah, what Paul's saying makes sense. I understand 10 feet is 10 feet, and then connect it, and suddenly the house is big, but it may be a way to limit that language, but, okay.
So anything going forward that doesn't, like, say, a trailer or say any of these accessory buildings, you would have a non-conforming lot then, basically? If, say, I'm trying to.
They'd have to get a variance for that setback.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm saying you'd be there'll be some situations where someone has a conforming lot right now, and now changing the bylaw, now you're gonna have a non-conforming lot?
Pre-existing non-conforming, so it's fine, it's grandfathered in.
And same thing with the trailer definition, same thing.
Got it.
As long as
Everything
it's there before.
pre-existing, yeah, I have
was
to
there
research
before
when it
it's
was there, yep, absolutely. So this is just a date stamp moving forward.
Yeah.
assisted living,
yeah,
that's a good idea, isn't it?
Yeah, we had a lot of, some of these were put in because of applications we've received at the planning board.
Oh, yeah?
So, but oftentimes, Chris and I will get he'll get an application, and we're trying to figure out what does the zoning bylaw say, and we're going,
Yeah.
well, it's assisted living, but we don't have a definition for it, so let's go to the closest, which
All we have is
isn't a
lodging
good
house
thing.
or rooming house in there, I think that's it.
Right. So the purpose of adding all these definitions was to address the gaps. Like, we don't have a definition of boarding house, but we have them. We have childcare
Do we?
centers.
We have boarding houses? I mean,
I think in Mass General Law, there is, do we have a definition in?
Here we-
Right in chapter 2, if you do.
Well, that's what we just added.
Okay, yeah.
One of the new
do we have a
definitions.
boarding house in Norfolk?
Do we have boarding houses?
As opposed to rental apartments?
One was coming
There's
before
one right across the
planning.
street.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the huge
I
one.
guess that's a boarding house.
Yeah.
Yeah, depends on, and it depends on the size and the scale and how many people. So between, 1 and 6, it falls under one definition, and then 6 and 16, it falls under another, and then 16 or more turns into an I-use group. So, yeah, it's convoluted and ambiguous, and we needed
I
to,
was thinking of a private boarding house as
Well, there
opposed to
are.
a
There's-
rental apartment or
Well,
something.
there was one that was on slate to come up.
Yeah.
Right
bet,
now.
congregated living facility, lodging house, bed and breakfast, Airbnb, these are all coming up.
Yeah.
But-
So,
Right.
yeah.
And in fact, we added a definition of family because there are multiple, so the definition of family is really about what's not a family, who's not a family. So it's about unrelated people living together. So there are different state standards, but the most restrictive that we have falls under the health code, which is 4 or more unrelated people. And so we've decided to make that the definition, because you have some as 6.
Well, fire
Or-
department.
fire department has
I'm
6.
5, fire department is 6.
Right.
Requires sprinklers, so currently we're at 6 in our bylaws definition. And that just doesn't jive with what else is going on with
Yeah.
all the Mass General laws,
So, again, these affect certain things like the building code, because then if you have 6 or more unrelated, well, 4 had to deal with, why did Christian need, it was for the septic system.
Yeah, so
it triggers a different septic system that has to be
different flow
installed.
rate, so from 110, it goes to 150.
Yeah.
And then the septic system has to be redesigned.
So what we're trying to do is bridge, we're trying to get the bylaw to bridge different state regulations. The regulations will still be the same. If they have 4 unrelated people, the sprinklers don't kick in, but the septic system would, and then, you know, these have come up. These have come up, this issue came up before the planning board earlier this year. So there's a, you know, group home, we didn't have a definition for group home. And I should say, most of these definitions come directly from state law. These are
Really?
state yeah, we just copied and pasted. Yeah, the state has an extensive amount of definitions in them for different types of uses, particularly with children and education. So we wanted to make sure that we included all of those, particularly, you know, this hasn't come across, I don't know if it's come across the zoning board, but with the planning board, we have something called the Dover Amendment, 40A3 of Mass General.
Heard of it.
And what it says is
Remind me.
certain uses, certain uses related to education, childcare facilities,
Religion.
and religion, we cannot impose additional zoning requirements on them. So no special, and mostly no special permits. But our bylaw and our definitions and our use table didn't pick that up. So again, this came up because we had a group home that got put in front of us. We thought a special permit would be needed because we thought it was a group home, and then we found out what type of group home. And it didn't go forward, but our bylaw was really missing this. And, you know, we could have been in a, you know, it made the, it didn't happen because the applicant withdrew. But, you know, we're trying to put these in so that planning board and ZBA have clearer definitions and clear, you know, more clarity in our bylaw about what the bylaw's trying to you know, seek. So we also added definitions regarding lodging. So that's why you see rooming
Yeah, I
houses
see
again
a
for
lot of
that.
different forms.
Yep, yeah. And then a definition for trailer, which you guys are very familiar with. So that's one we may want to just take a look at right now, too, on page 4.
Yeah.
And it's any vehicle which is designed primarily to be portable and is arranged, intended, designed, or used temporarily for business use in conjunction with construction. Any trailer completely enclosed or covered in any way, shipping containers, also referred to as cargo boxes, and trailers which are or were part of a tractor-trailer unit. This definition shall not include a travel or camping trailer, which is a vehicle designed to travel on highways, on rubber tire wheels, and used for recreational purposes, and cannot be used for an accessory structure in a residential zone.
Is that taken from state law? This trailer
Taken from
definition?
Numerous different definitions of trailers,
Oh, yeah?
and mobile homes, and cargos, and that's the, yeah.
Right, I'm trying to, we did pull this, and I am drawing a blank as to which code, building code.
Yeah, some of it was buildings, some of it was other zoning towns. So, yeah, we're just trying to, we're seeing a rise in these intermodal storage units being used as sheds,
Yeah.
poultry, you know, you've seen it.
Why
so-
then limit it in the second line to use in conjunction with construction? Doesn't that limit it? I mean, that does limit it.
That's the,
I think that's the last definition, the last line that we're asking, you know, we're looking for. Accessory structure in a residential zone cannot be used. And we're just trying to, you know, define, because I have tractor trailers that are parked out on properties right now.
Really?
I have these intermodal trailers, you know, the RVs, again, we don't have definitions for recreational vehicle, campers, you know, whether or not people are living in them or using them for storage, we have it all. So I just need a clearer definition on what is and what isn't allowed. Are we gonna use it for, you know, we have a definition on mobile home, and that's about it. And then we have something in the bylaws, not the zoning bylaws, about a trailer, and it's only permitted for 180 days. That's it. So we're just trying to be more definitive, or, you know, and then get a feel for what the town wants. I mean, if they want these for storage units, then, have at it.
Okay? And then
And
the table is adjusted.
Yeah, we added, with the underline, we added how an approval would occur, or if it's allowed or not. So you'll see a lot of these as special permits, because what we tried to do is mirror some of the related uses, treat them the same way.
Right.
So, and you'll see, like, with some of these, like, if you look at the bottom of page 5, early education and care program, those are all yeses, because, again, that's a Dover amendment.
Got it.
We're recommending it, so, because we think that if we put special permit requirements on it, that we would be in violation of state law. And a lot of these would be approved by special permit by the planning board. So again, a lot of these wouldn't fall in your purview, like, we didn't put accessory structure is not in the use table, but obviously, the way it's written, it's, hopefully providing you more clarity with it, but
So this goes to the Board of Selectmen. It already went.
No, it did go, I'm sorry, my apologies, they did it last week. They've referred it to the planning board.
Oh,
The
okay.
planning board will be hearing it October 1st.
Okay.
And then potentially October 17th, which is prior to the October 21st. So they have to issue a recommendation back to the Board of Selectmen.
I see.
And then they will read out their recommendations at the town meeting. I do want to point out, we had a simple, on page 6, under table 4.3, we expanded a footnote. This has been an issue that Chris has had to deal with regarding chickens and rabbits on lots, basically undersized, or lots that are 5 acres or less, but
Yeah.
they're not conforming with their dimensional requirements. So this footnote helps to address it. But it was only, at the time, for that middle one, for rabbits and hens confined and caged for personal use on less than 5 acres, but not the others. And we just feel like the dimensions are still the same, so we feel like it's appropriate. And, he's gotten into a couple issues with people who are under 5 acres grazing, they have goats but they're not meeting the dimensional requirements. This would help.
I believe this was just an omission. This came before last year.
Oh, yeah.
Just as Tabitha was leaving. I think the side note got left over, those less than 5 acres, so we're just putting it back in.
Yeah.
A lot of these are quarter-acre lots, and the livestock is right there as the
Really?
neighbor opens
Yeah.
their windows,
Yeah.
so it's very difficult.
So what are you gonna do, like a PowerPoint at town meeting with all this?
Haven't gotten that
Chickens
far.
and
Yeah. Probably, yeah, I'll probably just do a PowerPoint on it. This one probably deserves a simple, we'll see where people go with it, but I don't view these as changes. These aren't substantive changes, these are gaps. It's just a question of, okay, do you want medical, dental, office, and commercial and industrial? Or
Right.
do you want, but like, for example, we don't have in the use table for medical or dental office. So we would have to look at the use table and go, well, that's the closest thing to it. It's not really it, but, so just wanting to add that to it. Oh, and then we did add trailer to that as well.
Interesting how all these things change over time.
Yeah.
You need more categorization and better definitions.
Yeah, big cities, a lot of big cities will have hundreds of definitions, and I want to keep it simple, but, dealing with Chris and Christian, it needs to work for their departments. So we added what we feel was necessary. I also added a simple definition for redevelopment, which I think I
Yeah,
took that more from a,
yeah, no, you need that.
yeah, because that's going to happen more. This town is going to be redeveloping more.
Right.
There's not much vacant land left, so what is redevelopment? And,
Includes tearing down and
yeah, but we didn't have it.
Right, interesting.
So
Okay.
anyway, again, it'd be great
Well,
if,
it's a lot of work.
yeah, but it was pay me now or pay me later.
I hope someone's paying you.
Right?
Not much, not much. But I get to work with good people, so
That's us.
it is. Not him.
No, absolutely not.
I should be getting more because I have to work with him.
Right, good luck,
Hazard duty pay.
good luck.
So
Thank
anyway,
you
we
for
wanted to make
showing-
sure you
yeah,
guys see this.
Thank you, and, yeah, we should all spend some
Yeah, I'm gonna review.
time looking at that and suggesting changes, and we could always go to the planning board meeting as well.
Yeah, you're certainly invited. Again, October 1st, it'll be at the library.
Yep, okay.
7:15, because we wanted a bigger room than this, so.
Okay,
I just put out like a very minor, it's more grammatical, that's all it is. But on the trailer, at the end of, for business use in in conjunction with construction, instead of a period, they just put a semicolon,
Yeah.
and then the whole thing flows a lot better. And that's kinda
After
how-
construction,
Yeah,
after construction,
right,
and then any trailer.
yeah, and it just kind of, it ends and then it starts up again.
oh, I see.
Oh, yeah, okay.
To me, it makes the world of difference, though, it just doesn't read right.
When I read it, I was like, wait, that didn't read right.
Yeah.
But,
I
yeah,
read it a few times, and then, yeah, the semicolons further on, which are appropriate, but,
I need to run this through Grammarly, or,
yeah.
no joke, I do that now. It works.
Any bills or warrants this meeting?
No.
I had an update for the board regarding the Charter Commission.
Yeah,
So Paul came to the meeting. So I spoke a little bit about the, perhaps the desire of the ZBA to expand the size of the board to 5 members. And, kind of left it at that. We were still thinking about it, but kind of put it on the table.
yep,
And then interestingly enough, afterwards, we realized that the charter does not speak to the size of the ZBA. It's actually within the bylaws themselves. It is not defined within the charter commission, within the charter.
really?
So, yeah, so it's actually out of the purview.
I've seen it in this MGL, state laws.
Yeah, we checked it a few times. It's within, it's not, it speaks to who appoints to the ZBA, but it does not speak to the composition of the board. So it's a bylaw change,
Okay,
which would require, so the charter commission in effect can't do anything
okay,
in that regard.
thanks
So it's
for,
a town meeting then? It would be a
Yeah,
town
but
meeting.
it would be similar to Paul's doing, you would propose a change to the
Okay.
bylaw, if we want to go down that route.
but the Mass General Law says something about it, too. Maybe it just says should be in the bylaw, but, okay. Thanks for reporting back on that. I thought it was in the charter.
I was convinced it was too, and we all thought it was too, then we realized we didn't read it that close, and we couldn't find it.
Okay, next item is minutes, and I haven't looked at these.
Now I'll leave.
Oh, now you'll leave.
Good night.
Good night.
Our minutes bore you, I guess.
No.
We can write Chris's name into them now, all the bad part. Thank you, Mr. Carmichael.
Do that, Chris.
I have just a couple of suggestions. To the Elm Street variance, the second paragraph, I just would change, no, I'm sorry, first paragraph, end of the first paragraph, I would say, applicant states the height cannot be reduced due to engineering concerns and would cause the structure to look like a box, because I know they specifically mentioned the engineering angles
Right.
and all of that. And then the next paragraph, the board requested an updated plan sheet indicating all distances between the structures. I stamped as an engineered plan. I don't-
Stamp site plan.
Stamped,
Site plan.
is it enough just to say stamped? It's not really engineer's drawing, it's, certified by a
It can be
registered
It can be
engineer.
anybody's drawing if the engineer reviews it and
Yeah.
puts a stamp on it and signs it.
What's a better way of saying that? Request an updated plan sheet indicating distances, stamped by an engineer?
Mhm.
Okay,
Stamped drawings is just the kind of vernacular, but
Right.
stamped engineered drawings.
updated stamped engineered plan sheet, okay, indicating distances between the structures as well as a screening landscaping plan. How's that? With that, with those couple of changes, is there a motion to approve these minutes of our last meeting
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of August 28th, 2019,
with those changes?
with those changes,
Second?
as proposed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, I wasn't here, I don't think I can.
So you can't,
Right.
are you sure? No.
I watched half of it, though.
Oh, you did? Oh, boy.
They had plenty of time on a plane, I'm sure.
Well, I couldn't get to come up, and
Oh, I'm sure.
I was
Okay, next, we're supposed to every year, I mentioned at the last meeting, elect a chair. It's in the bylaw to do that once a year, and I wanted to wait till you were back, Jim,
okay.
because I know you want to assume control, and
Nope.
wanted to give you a chance to speak up.
Nope,
Make a motion to elect Tom Knoll chair.
I'll second that.
You don't have to, the pay's really good, but you sure nobody wants to step in?
Not yet.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. I'll continue on.
Yeah.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I second. He
I
probably
would
thirds.
third it, but
Okay, so I'm going to lose the vote, but all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry is in order, right. Okay,
How
so,
many years you been doing this, Tom?
I don't know. You lose count?
No.
I honestly don't remember. I'd have to go back and look.
It's a lot.
I was joking about the pay, too. So. We all were. Is that it for now?
That's easy.
And our next, we had set a couple meetings. Oh, and you
Right.
put these on the calendar already through
Right.
December, so we're all
I did,
set.
can we just go through, because I wasn't here, just to make sure we have them right? I didn't bring my other phone,
You
so.
did email them, though, I think.
I did.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I
Okay.
accepted them all, and
I think you did, but we'll,
I'm not, yeah, I just
so
want to make
for
sure I get them right.
October,
26.
October was the, October.
16th.
Oh, it is earlier, 16th, okay.
yeah. You
And
did
then-
that as a favor to me because the 21st is the town meeting. And at the time, the planning board was supposed to be on the 22nd, so, oh, now they're on the 17th, so, oh, well.
November 20th.
And then we're running into November, so we wanted to be earlier that month,
The
right?
20th,
20th,
November 20,
yes,
and then December 18?
18.
And then 12, 18, all right.
yeah.
We may have gone into January, didn't we? No? I guess not.
Not yet.
Doesn't look like
Let's just hold off for now, and we've got 3 coming.
Yeah, now, for some reason I thought we'd gotten back to the cycle of having the last week of the month, but maybe we talked about
The
it.
holidays got in the way of that, right?
Right.
So maybe in
Right.
January, if there's little going on, we can
Get
be
back
more
to it.
comfortable maybe in October, November foreseeing that we don't have to, we could take an extra week or two.
Right.
Anything else come before us?
Question about something going forward,
Yeah,
like relating to tonight, something I came across just during another meeting.
go ahead.
Situation like we're at tonight where we knew, we're looking at like we're at an impasse. And I don't know if it's right for this type of board or not, but in another situation, in other boards, the chairman would give the applicant an opportunity to withdraw, and actually would say, withdraw your application without prejudice, so you don't hamstring them to the 2 years, or, I just don't know if that's something we would.
We've done
do or-
that
Or have
before.
done, or,
I didn't think of doing that in this case because we had asked for a couple of concessions already.
yeah.
I thought it was, I didn't ask him.
Yeah, I just didn't know
You
if
could
it
have
wasn't something that-
suggested, you can always suggest that, too.
Just as a suggestion, you would say, it would be something that we could do, or,
It is something we can do. We've done that before. We've made that suggestion. But you can also speak up and say that, as member, does the applicant want to withdraw his application?
or just say, just so you know, at any time, you could withdraw this without prejudice, and,
Well, we have to take a vote on that. So there might be
Correct.
some cases where without prejudice doesn't matter, with or without prejudice, because it's always without prejudice if they withdraw it. We talked about this a while ago with council, but we have to vote on the withdrawal to make sure that it's not something that's going to come back to haunt later. But yeah, that's a fine suggestion, and make that suggestion if it comes up again. We're going to do a decision for that because we have to do a decision. And then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay? Anything else to come before us tonight?
Nope.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. That's unanimous, right?